Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. I'm so glad you're here. So it is March 6th, and wow, like this is the week that was, eh? What a week. Got the stock market going up and down because Trump keeps saying stupid things about the virus. You've got Super Tuesday that I think surprised a lot of people. The results surprised a lot of people. Elizabeth Warren dropping out, and as of right now, not endorsing anybody. So that's going to be interesting to see if she does and who she does. So I thought today would be a good day to just kind of take a little quick look at this and that. And the first this and that, I have a question about. What the hell is Tulsi Gabbard still doing in this race? It boggles my mind. She has 2 delegates, but she hasn't suspended her campaign. First of all, how can she afford to maintain a campaign when like nobody knows her? And where's that money coming from? Or is she spending any money? I got to take a look because it confuses me. I mean, she should have been dropping out many weeks ago, but she didn't, and she's still in there. Let's take a look. I really want to know what her story is. Come on down. Tulsi Gabbard, president, I guess. Tulsi Gabbard, president. Tulsi Gabbard, president. Back this up a bit. Okay, now I have to be very, very careful about how I'm going to say what I'm going to say. And so I'm going to trust that many of you can read between the lines. And I'm going to trust that you'll be just as cautious when you go into my comment section. She really is imprisoned. She's kind of like between a rock and a hard place. Because there is a partnership, there is an alliance that is sort of keeping her suspended, if you will. It's causing I want to almost say a crisis of conscience, right? Like a crisis in terms of what she believes versus what she finds herself doing. But there's a reason. There has to be a reason why she hasn't withdrawn. So the question becomes, is there certain information that as a, someone running for that nomination, is there information that she might have access to that otherwise she would not? Or is there information or strategy going on that is somehow beneficial? And it's not beneficial to her because with 2 delegates, she is going absolutely nowhere. So, but she won't pull out. So there's something going on kind of behind the scenes that very much feels as if, okay, so look, I mean, she's got both the Page and the Knight of Swords, which is talking to me about legalities. It is talking to me about in some ways even protecting herself, keeping that sword in front of her. And this little Knight of Wands is very clearly telling me that there really is some hesitation, right? I mean, you got the Knight kind of rearing back on the horse. You got the horse kind of rearing back. They're holding the wand because that's what they have to hold on to. Don't forget, wands are like communications. They're words you speak, ideas. Yeah. Okay. She's getting support. Support is not local, as in country, and she's trapped. She's got both the 9 of Wands and the 8 of Swords here. So that's telling me that a lot of what's going on feels very much or is very much out of her control. There's a lot of communications going on that there may be a government agency or two that are wanting to monitor her or are monitoring her. This is being kept very, very quiet now, in part because there are ears who shouldn't hear this. And unfortunately for her, ultimately, whatever's going on, whatever this alliance is, whatever this reason that she's holding, the position that she's in, and she will not relinquish it, is ultimately going to come, out. It's going to bubble to the surface. And in that point, it's going to be interesting to see if there is any sort of a backlash or a price that she pays. Although from that point, it really does look like she's going to have to go into retreat. And it also looks like there's going to be a lot of emotion directed at her. And I'm not exactly sure that it is friendly emotion. And either way, it causes or creates pretty much an end to any political career that she envisioned or had or wanted. So read into that, whatever it is you would like. But that's what I'm getting energetically. Because, really, what is she doing? Every time I hear her name, the only thing I can think is, listen, you have not been invited to the party. You need to take your dancing shoes and go. And it's like she's just that guest who won't leave, right? She's just that person. So, interesting. Okay. A year ago, in fact, I believe it was my second video that I did. And I did the video because I had received sort of that psychic download of information. And I have been monitoring that information for a while. And I truly have not seen any significant shift that causes me to question the accuracy. So this, in a nutshell, is what I said February of 2019. There is going to be a white male older president as a result of the 2020 election. He is going to have as his running mate a woman of color, I think black, woman, younger and much more energetic. That's who he's going to choose as his running mate. That president is going to spend his energy trying to normalize relations internationally, kind of, get things back to sort of the way they were, or as close to the way they were as he can. She is going to be left working on domestic issues. So she's going to be the one tackling healthcare and prescription drugs and, schooling and that. She's going to handle domestic and he's going to handle international. And it's weird because, you guys have a really, really firm rule about one president at a time. And I'm not saying you're going to have two, but I am suggesting that she is going to be a very active vice president. That president, that male president, is going to be in office for 4 years. And in 4 years, he is going to choose to leave, paving the way, opening the door for this vice president to literally step right into the presidency, because she's really, in many ways, going to be the name and the face that people resonate very strongly with, because, well, good old Uncle Joe there, as you call him, he's safe. He is that safe harbor. Sanders is sort of, let's shake things up and get stuff moving. So those are the two energies, right? But she is really going to be focused on domestic stuff. And she is literally going to waltz right in to the presidency in 2024, and she will maintain that office for 8 years. Nothing I have seen, and trust me, I check back on this with alarming regularity, because, everything has been so topsy-turvy. But I still have not gotten any indication that the prediction I made 13 months ago, 12 and a half, is still not valid. So again, make of that whatever you wish to make of it. But as of right now, I stand by that prediction. And so, people out there who are wondering about, what is it going to take for the United States to, get a woman president? Like, what is the problem here? It's in the works. It is a process. And part of what you need for a female to become president is like really powerful face and name recognition. Kind of what Biden has, right? Everybody knows him. Everybody knows his face. You may like him or hate him. You may like or hate his policies, but you know who he is. And if you have a very, very active vice president, you're going to know who she is. And so when it comes time for that next election, she's really going to be a shoo-in. Coupled with that, the fact that the Republican Party is absolutely going to be decimated in 2020. And so they're not going to be in any position to seriously run any kind of a serious challenge to a Democrat White House, and Senate. So there's that. So today, a judge somewhere in Washington gave William Barr a bit of a dressing down, and said that it is not clear to him, the judge, that the way Barr handled the whole Mueller report was not anything other than sort of trying to make a politically advantageous situation. And we know who that would be for. And the judge is calling for the redacted portions of the Mueller report to be reviewed. And I'm thinking that means by the judge. So that's kind of interesting. So I want to take a look quickly at Barr. What's the story with Barr? Now, I did touch on him and Giuliani in yesterday's reading. So let's just see if we can get some additional information on William Barr's career, right? Like, what is the trajectory of his career right now? So, come on down, let's take a look. William Barr career, William Barr career, William Barr career. It's coming to an end. Too many people have eyes on him. Too many people are watching. Too many people are complaining. And so even if He hangs in there until such time as the current president leaves office. He is still, it's still going to end, and people are going to, as this continues, people are going to have more and more to say. I mean, already the number of, letters of complaint by previous attorney generals and previous prosecutors are growing in number. And so that is going to continue. He is not going to kind of be able to dig himself out of this, because he is submissive, Paige, to a overly emotional and overly wrought president. Now, this is not the card that typically shows up for that man, but that's how it's reading right at this moment, that he is in a place where everything is in such a state of flux around him, because the president is in such a state of flux, and he just keeps lashing out and lashing out, and Billy's literally like running behind him, trying to pick up the marbles and trying to corral stuff and trying to, get stuff done that he wants done, but keep it really quiet, because, and he really wishes, his boss would be quiet. So that situation is, unfortunately, he's got the Empress sitting here, and normally that's like a wonderful card, right? But in this case, it really does indicate that what you have here is a situation that is going to continue to get bigger and bigger. It's going to continue to grow and grow. Ask any woman what 9 months of pregnancy feels like, and that's kind of the feeling, okay? It's like, he is so encumbered, there's no way for him to wiggle or maneuver out of this. He cannot, he really cannot steer himself into calm waters. He is just, his goose is cooked. And this indicates that in time, somewhere down the road, there is going to be a great deal of celebration around the agency that he currently is head of. And because you've got these three women here, I would not be at all surprised if your next United States Attorney General is not a woman, okay? That seems pretty clear to me, because part of what needs to happen with a new administration is that people's perceptions of what went on in this 2 and 4 year period will not be repeated. So there is a need to bring somebody in who is going to sweep it clean and bring in a new energy. I'm getting a no nonsense woman. So I guess this is part of what I keep seeing, right? I keep seeing that as the next years unfold, more and more you're going to see really smart, really savvy, really powerful women taking their places in U.S. politics. But it's not going to feel like an avalanche of feminine energy. It's going to be more subtle than that, because women are more subtle than that. And just slowly but surely, you're going to see women being named into very, very powerful positions, because frankly, they're the ones who are carrying less baggage and frankly can get the deal done, okay? So for those of you who despair about ever seeing a woman in powerful positions, don't despair. Trust me, it is coming. But remember, not an avalanche. It's more subtle than that, because women understand intuitively, and some men too, but primarily women, understand that you really can't shove your ideas or intentions at people, and most especially at old, stuck in their ways men. You have to be clever, and you have to do it in such a way so that it doesn't get their backs up, so they don't feel threatened, because that's when people dig their heels in and just go to the polar opposite, and you don't have to search far, right? This is what happened with Barack Obama. Those old white men got to feeling really, really scared about what this meant, that there was a black president who was beloved beyond, anybody could remember in recent history. And it got them scared. And that is when they started really, really pushing back with all their might. And that is what gave birth to a Trump. So it's going to be subtle. It's going to be quiet. And man alive, is it ever going to be powerful, because they are going to start getting stuff done literally at breakneck speed. Yeah, I mean, I think really that's it about Barr, right? He is, there's his boss, there's his king. So again, they're in an alliance. He is going to fall or rise with this man. He has put all of his eggs in that basket. He is stubborn to boot. He believes what he believes and cannot be budged. And so when the fall comes, he is going to fall. And it's not going to be pretty. And the reason it's not going to be pretty is because he has not showed one iota of balance in what he does and how he behaves. And so when this happens, the fall is going to be explosive. It's going to be permanent. It's going to crack the foundation and bring things coming down on his head. And I'm not sure that his health is sort of going to survive the stress of it. It's possible that he may need to leave office early because his health finally gives out on him. I have always seen Barr with a head issue. A stroke, a brain tumor, or maybe he just has headaches. I don't know. But there's always something about his hand. Okay, let's take a look at the coronavirus. And again, don't plan on going on and on about this, but I think it is definitely worth taking a look-see, since within the United States, there are two very distinct stories being told. Trump was on Hannity the other night saying, he has a hunch that the numbers are wrong, and people are working through this. It's really not impacting anything, because of course his whole deal is the stock market and keeping that thing floating, because that's what he is hanging his hat on. Except for right now, it's not going to float. Okay, so let's just see what we can find out. And I'm going to do this globally. So global coronavirus, global coronavirus, or COVID-19, I guess is the official name for it. Okay. Make no mistake, the United States' response, and in fact, China's response at the beginning of this, was all about money. China did not want to face the economic ramifications or slowdowns or setbacks of the impact that this thing could have. And so they just kept their head in the sand and hoped that it would stay quiet or nobody would notice. Well, that's not exactly what happened, because ultimately it got bad enough that people had, there was a light shone on the situation. The numbers coming out of China are not correct, okay? And in some ways, because of that, globally, the numbers are not correct. People are going to die. I'm sorry. People have, and they're going to continue. But This is not going to be some pandemic that removes, several million people from the planet. That's not going to happen. You are going to get some people who sort of weather it kind of just like a regular flu. They have really strong immunities. And it's going to set them back for a while, and they're going to have to be quarantined some way or another because they're crazy contagious. But as far as their own response, they're going to be okay. And then there are some people who have a weakened immune system. And unfortunately, that could seriously curtail their life or certainly the way they function within their life going forward. But the news is not all terrible. It, now, they're going to continue to doing testing. They're going to continue to be working on a vaccine. They're going to continue to try to get real clarity on the symptoms, on incubation period, that kind of stuff. So there's going to be more and more information that the scientists are accumulating. And that information is going to be put out again, I repeat. Even the American Center for Disease Control is to some degree hamstrung by Trump. And it's not that they're lying, it's that every time they say something, he turns around and tweets or stands in front of a microphone or a helicopter and basically says they're wrong. And so there's a real mixed message thing going on here. And again, depending on who your news source is, either you think that, the president is a brilliant and all-knowing, or you realize that he's maybe not the most honest person in the world with 16,000 plus lives, and that you really don't need to and should not trust him. But again, the Center for Disease Control seems to be a little bit hamstrung. So when they say something, see if you can get confirmation from another source. Either your own personal city information, your state information, the World Health Organization, but look for confirmations, for the information you're hearing. If you have any reason to doubt that maybe it's not, the whole story. It's not that they are lying, but it very feels like there's a little bit that's still being hidden because, of course, this is all about the money and trying to keep the markets floating, and they're going to continue to be quite volatile for a while yet. Ultimately, the judgment that rains down upon this administration for their response is going to push them out in the cold. And so not only could this very, very well be a big chunk of what brings him down, it also appears that this could also be part of really what brings the Republicans down, because they're going to start facing some really hard questions like, why did you let that fool shut down or dramatically reduce funding for areas that should not have been dramatically reduced? In fact, they should have been increased. Why did you stand by and let him spread false narratives without pushing back and saying, no, I'm sorry, this is the truth? Apparently, the president has miscommunicated the facts. Isn't that diplomatic? Good Lord, I'm clever. Okay, so they're also going to get blamed for this. It is not only going to sit on his head, although the buck does stop with him, but down ballot, okay, those senators and some of those House Republicans, they're going to have a lot of answering to do. And frankly, when their answers don't satisfy people, they're out the door. They really are out the door. Because this was a war that they tried to cheat to win, and that didn't work. As for the coronavirus itself, energetically, this is what I want to tell you. It feels as if this thing is going to accelerate over the next, I want to say 4 to 6 weeks, because it's not that it's not already here and it's not already impacting people, but as testing becomes more prevalent and as more and more information keeps coming out, you're going to see those cases rise because more people are getting tested for it. And by the way, and there is also going to be some significant pushback for people who are getting tested in the United States and getting handed $3,400 bills for the test. That's not going to fly either. So there's going to be a lot of pushback and recriminations. And frankly, I want an explanation from you, kind of energy around that behavior. Okay, so I see it sort of building and building and almost like getting more and more scary. And then I see it just sort of stepping back and receding. But I'm warning you, beware. It's not unusual for a virus to make a return visit in the fall and winter, okay? So it's going to rise, it's going to steady, it's going to level out, and then it's going to be quiet. And then you're going to see sort of a new surge of it. And all one can hope is when the new surge happens, because this virus is actually really, really resistant to any sort of a vaccine energetically, okay? And it feels as if it's going to be really hard actually to get a handle on how to stop this thing. But one hopes that should it make that resurgence November, December of 2020, that by then the scientists have had time to kind of regroup, right, and have got the testing in place and have a greater understanding and have been able to track it. So again, this is not going to be some plague that wipes out humanity, but it is very definitely an interesting way for citizens of their own countries to be able to assess exactly to what degree their elected governments care. And that's a very valuable lesson, right? Because you're the ones with the power to vote them in. And so if you're discovering that the very people you're voting in don't give a tinker's damn about you, that's really important to know the next time you roll yourself on up to a voting station. So some interesting lessons, not only in the United States, but frankly, globally. Okay, so we're heading into a weekend. Oh my Lord, people, take some time, take a deep breath, step away from the crazy. This has been a really, really couple of weeks that have been very tough energetically. There's a lot of roller coasters of emotions. Step back, pull back, do a Netflix binge, right? Go hang out with your grandchildren. Eat cheesecake, my personal favorite, but step back, okay? Regroup, recenter yourself, because this continues to roll forward. So all you really can do is just take it in bite-sized pieces that you can handle and remember to rest and pull away, because you know what? This is the reality. If you pull away for the whole weekend, it's all there waiting for you on Monday. It's still going to be sitting there. It's kind of like laundry that way, it never gets done unless you do it. It always just hangs around waiting for you to take care of it. Okay. Again, thank you so very much for the support of this channel and the Insights channel. And for those of you who are interested, also released on the Insights channel this morning is a guided meditation called Angels by Your Side. So some of you may find that actually really exciting and interesting. Okay, take care, be well, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.